Our next presenter on the screen, her first name is Sulis, but that's actually hiding something. Her actual first name is Ketut, which means she's Balinese. She grew up here in Bali, but she left Bali in 2000 and moved to Singapore and worked as a user experience designer for 12 years in Singapore. Eventually, her and her Balinese husband decided they wanted to move back to Bali. And so in 2012, she came back to Bali, and she's now living and working here in Denpasar. And tonight, she's going to talk about being a stranger in her own country. Sulis.
So, hello everyone, my name is Ketut Sulistyawati, which from the name you can tell that I'm a Balinese, and Peter mentioned that I'm a Balinese. So I was born and I grew up in Bali, and I moved to Singapore and I lived there for about 12 years until I moved back to Bali about a year ago. And when I moved back to Bali, I really wanted to do what I've been doing in Singapore. And what is it that I've been doing in Singapore? I'm basically a user experience designer. And usually whenever I say that to people, they'll have this confused look in their face. In fact, just yesterday, my mom asked me again, like, Sulis, what exactly do you do? Because my friend asked me and I can't explain it to them. But it's actually quite simple. So what we do is we go out, we observe people, we understand how they use stuff, why they do things, how they do it, how they interact with products or services, so that we can understand them very well and we can design the best products or services for them. And throughout the whole meeting up with people, we collect a lot of stories, and we form these stories and we created what we call it design persona. This is how it's possibly looking like, and basically it helps you to connect with your customers in a personal level, in an emotional level, so as if you kind of know the customers very well. And when I moved back to Indonesia, my first client was from Hong Kong, and they wanted me to help them understand Indonesian customers. And they hired me because I'm an Indonesian. And as Indonesian, I would know about Indonesian customers very well, should I? No, it's not quite true, because I've been away to Singapore. I've been in Singapore for a long time. I don't know how Indonesian customers behave. And it's actually a very challenging situation. I was really struggling, like, what should I do? How can I fake it in front of them as if I know Indonesian customers very well? But it turns out to be quite a blessing for me because I don't know, and then I tell them, hey, the best way for you to know your customers is to do research with them. And because of that, and they're pretty convinced, and because of that I managed to grow a team of 4, and they're all there. I managed to work with fabulous people here in Bali. And this is what we have been doing in the past few months. We go out, we visit people in Indonesia, in Jakarta and Surabaya and different cities. We try to understand and have fresh perspectives about who they are, and we challenge our earlier assumptions of what we know about Indonesian customers. And that turns out to be great because we managed to get a lot of new insights, a lot of new perspectives. One thing that's very fun about visiting Indonesian customers is always lots of food and lots of drinks, and they serve us like a guest. I can't remember when was the last time I was offered a glass of drink when I did home visits in Singapore or overseas. So it's not just about the business over here. And people welcome us with open arms, they share their stories. Privacy is less of concern. They don't mind sharing a lot of stuff with us. And this guy, which face I have to cover because of ethical issue, he even shared his Facebook password with us when we did the interview. So it's just how general behavior with Indonesian customers. They're just less suspicious. They're more open. Sharing and giving and connecting to other people is something that's more important, and privacy just comes second to that. And which is something that's quite different with how I used to when I was living in Singapore. Convenience store. If you know convenience store in Singapore, it's always very tiny, and it's like in the end of MRT, very tiny. You have to go there and Switzerland grabs food, but Indonesia is a hangout place, and they have this term Sevel, which is cool. And you go there, it's free Wi-Fi, you get power plug, and there's even live music in some of the Sevels around in Jakarta. And that affects how people interact and use technology as well. They use technology first to connect to other people. Like, we talk to a lot of people and we ask them, do you use internet? And they say, no, I don't use internet, I just use Facebook. So to them it's like quite different. And for example, Indonesians sometimes go to the extra miles to be seen good. For example, this lady, she has 3 phones with her, even though the phone is on installment, still on credits. And when we went to her homes, it's actually very modest, and I wouldn't have guessed that she lives like that if I would just, see her on the road with her 3 gadgets. And look at that, it's actually quite funny. It's called Tongsis, which is Tongkat Narcis, which is narcissism stick. It helps you to take a very good selfie of yourself. It's actually quite shameful for you to use it, but people still use it because they want to look good in their photos in social media, right? This is another example of, we visited university students as well and tried to understand how to use technology, and we were there with our bule clients, and of course they don't want to be seen as not capable, and they're really trying to speak English because they don't want us to think that they can't speak English even though they're struggling so much. Another example of another project, they wanted to understand, hey, we have this design, we have this form. How come the drop-off rate in Indonesia is very high? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with the design? It's not user-friendly. There must be something in it that you have to help us to fix. Maybe there is something wrong. It's not very user-friendly. The form is not very well designed. But the bottom line is that people here don't like to complete and do a lot of stuff on their own. They prefer to make a phone call to the customer service and get things done for them. Because in Indonesia, there's always somebody else down the chain who will do the work for you because there's just so many people here. So those are the kind of things, and being away and coming back and feeling like a foreigner, a stranger in my own country feels like it's actually quite a blessing because I could see things in a fresh perspective. While if people would just live in Indonesia, I think that is actually quite normal. So in the end, to summarize this, that feeling of very uncomfortable at the start turned out to be great. So the message is don't get too comfortable, because if you are, then you stop looking. So are you? Thank you.
We could use some user design on this microphone. All right, do we have any questions out there? Yes?
Are you a user interface expert here in Bali?
I would like to say yes, and my team is there, and we're actually doing a lot of work out of Bali for local and overseas clients.
Is it for the same company that you work for in Singapore?
No, it's different. I started my own company after I moved back to Bali. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the design service jam or the service jam that's coming up? Yeah.
So we are organizing the first Bali service jam that's going to happen on the 8th and 9th of March. It's part of the global service jam where on the same day, on the same weekend, all over the world, people will get together and design, develop, deliver new services that is useful for people. So we are going to host it in Ubud. Thank you, Ubud, for allowing the space for all of us to be there. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we are around for you to ask questions, and we have flyers for information as well.
Any other questions? You noticed also that she got a PhD.
Whoa.
Whoever did her intro, terrible job. Left that out, fired. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Sulis.